Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you another video. All right, so figured I'd do a therapy session. Not talking about myself, even though I probably should be. But nah, I got some stuff that I just been seeing. I kind of wanted to document because you know how I am. If you see certain things, and it's just like, okay, let's just capture that because it looks like something that my brain is detecting as a pattern. It's a weird pattern happening right now, and I'll try my best to make some sense of what it is I'm trying to convey. So just bear with me. It's almost like there's a thing going on about married women being free to show their bodies to the world and the overall acceptance that the husband should just be fine with it. The understanding from my perspective is that we're not supposed to look at those women as if they're being disrespectful to those men in any way, or disrespectful to their marriage, or disrespectful to themselves, because it's about women empowerment. And if you're a supportive husband, then you should be secure in your marriage while your woman is free to do as she pleases with her body. But there's a vibe about that doesn't feel comfortable, and that's in the sense that your body is yours to show to your husband and your husband alone, and vice versa. And even though we kind of go outside those confines as we choose, when you start to promote that as an example to make it a norm, I think it does something to society that doesn't necessarily have that type of response. When you have people who don't have a whole lot of money and you ask them to accept those type of things, it doesn't have the same result as people who have their lives secure in certain different respects attached to themselves that allow them to be more secure in their lives. You promoting to the wide public what should be a norm. All one size don't fit all. And you're going to have a lot of issues in households when people have to accept certain things or have to be secure in certain spaces that just aren't really secure, like letting your wife or your husband show off their body to the world and it not affecting you in any way. These are celebrities getting paid millions of dollars. Some of these outfits that we're seeing, they're being paid to wear them, and those outfits are very expensive. So it's like, of course, Russell Wilson's not going to trip if Sierra's wearing a naked dress on Vanity Fair carpet or something like that, because at the end of the day, they're millionaires being paid extra millions to be there. Maybe he doesn't feel all that comfortable about it, but he's certainly going to be able to cash that check and add it to his generational wealth. So it's not the same thing as Joe Blow, whose wife works at the insurance company, going out on a Saturday night wearing that same outfit and him supposed to be cool about it while he's sitting at home. You know what I mean? It's not. But when you promote it with celebrities to do this, and then you tell the wide world to make this acceptable, or to look at this as acceptable, you're essentially saying, okay, wide world, this is what is acceptable, and therefore do with it what you will. And I don't think good things happen when you do that. So I'm just kind of looking at it, and I'm seeing that's a pattern. I'm seeing more than one example of that around, where, and it's usually a black man's wife, where she's throwing her body off. He's supposed to sit to the side like it's not a problem because of the era we in. And I'm telling you, I don't have a problem with people agreeing to do things within their own relationships. That's cool. But when you try to be example to others and try to make that as if that's normal, it can be a bit irresponsible in my opinion. So that's one thing I'm seeing, man. That's my little point of view. I don't think that men should start throwing fits because their wives wear what they want to wear. That's not the position I'm taking. I'm just saying it seems to me that the examples that are shown are trying to discard of what would otherwise be a natural reaction to not feel very comfortable with that if you're a husband. You know, a natural reaction that comes from wondering if this doesn't beget more of something that would otherwise betray your marriage. So it's like, I don't know. I've always been of the mindset that, yeah, you want to walk into a situation, a relationship secure, but you also want to know your responsibility to helping secure the mind of the person you're with. And the last thing that will help with that is putting them in positions to where they have to accept certain things about what you're doing in the presence of others. And so that's tough, that's really tough. But if people are wired for it, it's cool. It's just how many are? It's the question. If you try to make that normal, what are you opening the door for? And so that's what I always try to be mindful of when I watch these things happen, because I know people don't look at these these examples as examples. They look at it as entertainment, but what they really are is something for you to think about, mimic, or possibly incorporate into your own life or what have you. I look at it, another thing that's kind of going around is what I think is a very interesting formula that I think couples are using right now. Pretending to be broken up. It's like, I think it's something that's going on right now where people are acting like they're broken up when they're really not. And they're kind of going on a charade about how they're unhappy with the people they're with. But it's not really seeing like it all the way through. It's just a lot of that going on. And I'm wondering what's that about. It just seems like it's going on a lot in, once again, Black community examples, Black community stars, to where they are in a turmoil with their relationship, but they still trying to go after each other, but there's turmoil. It just seemed like a formula to me. People are buying it and I'm just watching it, and I kind of look at it as entertainment. Same thing with the in-house fighting. Okay, now No Jumper's got all the worst stuff going on with internal fighting. We talked about No Jumper. Now AD left and all of it's so bad. But it looks to me, it's just like, all right, when you really break down what it is that they're trying to sell us, essentially it's he said, she said stuff that's supposedly going to be moving numbers in $1 billion company or $100 million company or whatever No Jumper is. It's probably going to be close to $1 billion if he sells it. You want me to think that in-house he said, she said stuff then broke up your whole company, and now people going to be leaving the company after having successful branched off companies? Successful, like literally successful branch offs. Now it's like, okay, now we are angry with one another, and that's how we're going to leave one another. Yeah, it worked for Joe Budden. I know what you're doing. I know what he's doing. He saw it work for Joe, and he gonna try to make it work for his guys. It's like I told you. If you follow my therapy sessions, it's not the first time I said this, and now that this is coming to pass, it played out exactly the way I told you it would. He was gonna give these guys opportunities. They were gonna get their own little thing going as far as their own voices with their own platforms. Once they take his platform and give themselves a big enough platform, then they branch off to their own stuff, and he has his own Marvel universe. That's all it is. Now, he's allegedly not going to be friends with these guys anymore, but I bet you they're going to be doing crossover episodes left and right on Community and the other ones as well. Back on Fig, they're all going to be branches of No Jumper, regardless if these guys claim they're going to be affiliated or not. I don't care what nobody say. I know the play. I see what he's doing. And it's the same little misdirection, we're not friends, that everybody else is doing around here that they ain't really being honest about. I'm just not buying a lot of this stuff, man. I'm not buying. I think they think that everybody is really intrigued by turmoil inside in-house turmoil. And they're taking that formula and they're plastering it all over the place with all these celebrities for us to look at. It's everywhere and it's in different forms, but it's the same old cap. I'm not happy with you, except for I am. Tired of it, man. Come on, stop selling me the same old garbage. But see, I think most people are buying. I don't think anybody's tired of this stuff. I just think I'm unique. I don't even think most people are looking at it this way. I think people are actually buying this stuff. I'm not buying it. Now, here's the thing that I think, though, not all the characters involved in some of these things may actually know what's going on. I think that could be a variable in some of these situations. But at the end of the day, millionaires are moving money around, man, and it ain't gonna be no could have been said, maybe could. None of that's gonna be the reason why money gets moved around. I think people have set dates on when they want things to go and expiration dates for when they think things can get to a certain point. And guys have other things they want to do and they branch off. And that's exactly what I think is happening to No Jumper. Guys are branching off, man. Branching off. And this is a very, very colorful way and entertaining way of moving on from people and recycling and bringing in new people, because that's ultimately what he's about. Once he gets those dudes to a point where they have their own voice, now it's time to find some new people so he can keep this universe going. So he can't be continuing to rehash with AD and some of the guys he's already blown up. Now it's time for them to go off and do their own thing. Take what he's taught them and do their own thing. So I'm telling you, that's what's happening. I know what's happening. And they're just doing it in a very colorful way. And you notice all the people that he's worked with for the last 8 months, 10 months that he's made a name for, They got their own names now. Lush, he go and do his own thing now. He don't have to be a no jumper necessarily, but they always got ties to no jumper. They always gonna have ties to no jumper. That's always where they got their start. We're gonna act like it's beef for a while, and it's not gonna be a beef at all. Watch. I am almost 100% certain that's how it works, because I know for a fact that Joe Budden is who he's been paying attention to. That's exactly what Joe did. Joe stumbled into that by having real issues with his real friends, and you saw what it turned into, multi-million-dollar companies for both of them. I'm gonna tell you right now, if I got a problem with one of my closest buddies, and it plays out like that, I'm happy. I'm happy, because if you really care about your homie, you want them to turn into their own thing. That was the problem in the first place. He wanted Rory and Mal to start their own businesses. He wanted them to have their own voices, their own platforms, and for whatever reason, it wasn't manifesting for those guys. And they didn't understand the business because of it. Now, they know exactly what Joe was going through, because they're doing their own thing in that same way. And they're making big money doing it. So I don't know that Joe wanted that intention, but I can tell you right now, them folks over in No Jumper, they saw that. It worked. It worked big time, and they're going to do the same thing in a different way. So that's what I think is going on there, man. In-house fighting, for which we control, because it's all in-house. Whatever the problem is, we agree to it. Whatever the issue is, we agree to it. However it plays out, we got it under control. It's all in here with us. So we can sell you whatever we want to sell you. Rap songs about each other, outing people who say they not, whatever the case may be. Me saying this about that person, mama, whatever it is, it's all in our house. We show you what we want you to see. And so that's No Jumper, man. It's all entertainment. They acting most of the time, I think. Good most of the time. So that's what I think there. I still think homie's a daredevil, though. I wouldn't necessarily stay too close to him, but I do think that he's given a lot of opportunities to a lot of people. And I think he knows what he's doing. He knows how to get the attention of the people. He knows how to dabble in low frequency, dumb stuff that keeps the attention of really, really, really stupid people. Honestly, he knows how to keep their attention. He knows how to keep them happy. And so I'm just watching. I'm watching how it plays out. And I think the formula is working. I think people are really buying. They're buying the in-house fighting, even if they don't necessarily buy it. It's like WWE. You're still enjoying it. The script is fun to watch. So that's kind of what it is, man. It's entertainment. I don't think anybody's going to take it any further. I don't think those guys are actually mad at each other and nothing like that. They ain't even real. Nah, they just, it's time for him to recycle and get some new faces and blow up some new names. And it's coming. So that's what I see coming there, man. What else? It was some other stuff too that's just kind of having that same vibe to where everybody's acting like it's something that it's not. It's really cap. Or it's some type of molding of the mind type stuff to where the celebrity's acting a certain way and I'm seeing the patterns. So that's what I want to document, man. I'm sure it's more to it, but I don't want to sit here and filibuster while I'm trying to figure it out. So yeah, I just want to tell people to just stay on guard, man. Handle with what you can live with in your relationship, your business. I don't give relationship advice because I ain't been in enough relationships to do that. But what I can say, you got to watch out for stuff that's not meant for you, that society may put into your life that make you feel like you need to incorporate things into your world that may not be wired for you, or you may not be wired for, rather. You know what I mean? Some stuff is just like, that's not me, man. Like, y'all can say I'm supposed to be cool with that, but when I close my door with my loved one, we have a different agreement, maybe. And if she thinks that that's the way it's supposed to be, and that don't vibe with me, then it can break up the whole household. And maybe I need to change for the better, but maybe that for which she's attached to isn't what's best for us. You know what I mean? In that culture, you know what I mean? So that might be what people might face in their household in some variation of fashion. And I just want to protect against that to whatever degree we can, man. Because at the end of the day, I do believe the overall idea is to control things. And if they can control relationship structure, family structure, you know what I mean? Those type of things for which we've already know they've experimented with in the black community. They've messed with us in our perception of family structure and whatnot. So I know that can be applied in other ways. And I think it could be. We can see the beginning of that right now. They might be trying to mess with y'all family structure and other races and other, you know what I mean? It could be an expansion of that. Because I'm looking at it and I'm like, there was another example. I don't remember who it was, but it was a non-black person who was in the same boat to where they were in this space where they're a celebrity. I don't remember who it is, but they're a man who's now being asked to accept something that just, as a man, it will make you swallow a great deal of pride and emotional, strength to try to gauge how to do that. And I just don't remember who it was, but I remember saying, damn, like, they really gonna try to do this man like that? And I just feel like the perception of empowerment in this society, it feels as if in order to empower one side, you have to pull power from another. In order to empower women, you have to demasculate men or something like that. If that's the right way of putting it, you got to pull the strength away from what it takes to be a man in order to empower a woman. I just think that's not balanced. That's not necessarily a good way to embrace anything, because otherwise you're going to have people on the other side of it who are going to resent it just for the sheer fact they're on the wrong end of it. And I think that's purposeful as it pertains to men and women and how they want us to perceive ourselves. I think that's purposeful. It's divide and conquer at all times. If we keep women and men separated and make women feel like they don't need men and all of that good stuff, then there's ways to stay in between us to keep us from having conversations that would otherwise allow us to get certain things done that probably need to be done. You know what I mean? Just in general. My mind goes to, us not being able to raise our own children, having devices and different programming raise our children. If you could divide family in the household, you can catch children sooner with these devices. There's not going to be two parents there trying to watch over what they're watching. So you could have a kid watching some weird subliminal nonsense at 3 years old with a pad in his face because his mom's a single parent who's not paying as much attention to him because she's too busy trying to get the bag. This is what I think this really boils down to. It's trying to control the children's mind, and by way of doing so, you could separate the parents' household, the structure there, so you could kind of, nestle yourself in a position to get to the children. I really believe that, man. I really believe that when they toy with men and women, and they toy with our minds to try to get us to look at each other a certain way, I think it comes down to them wanting to control what comes of men and women, which is children. They want to control our perception of what a woman is, to where we're not supposed to look at women as givers of birth, and we're supposed to also consider the ambiguity of identity and how that's supposed to be more important than identifying a real woman and what that should mean and how we should perceive respecting her. It's like, no, they're prioritizing something that provides identity to someone, and that's not fair to the balance of what it is that we're talking about. I was thinking about the Raptors coming back. The Raptors basketball team, they had a statement that they had to amend, where they had to apologize because on National Women's Day or something of that nature, they put a big PA, on a big, huge public announcement, so to speak, on I guess on their Jumbotron possibly, or maybe during their telecast on television in Toronto. I'm not sure, but they were essentially having a couple players say what they felt. I don't know the context, but essentially they were saying what women mean to them, or why the importance of celebrating Women's Day or something of that nature. And essentially one of the dudes, I don't know who it was, I don't want to put it on somebody, but he was essentially saying, women are reproduced. They are why we're here. They give us all life. And I guess that's disrespectful, because there are a lot of women, both transgender women and real women, who can't have children. But I'm like, why must that be disrespectful to those people giving life to those who can provide birth, for which the world really does understand is a genuine understanding for not only this era, but every era we've ever lived and every species that we understand. The female species does give life, and if for some reason they cannot, it is still understood that we love the women who do, and that the women of the earth have given us life. So it's like, for the consideration of those who are not able, we're supposed to prioritize over everyone who can? And in what walk of life do we think that way? Other than for some type of perversion of helping out at the understanding of those who cannot, versus giving celebration to who can. Can we not just give celebration to who can? Can we not just celebrate what is? versus the few or the less amounts of those who may not be able. It's like we must incorporate them more so, but they're less of. I don't know how the math works. And then even more so when it comes to compassion, it's like, all right, I want to provide compassion. But now in the midst of doing that, you're reminding people who may have those issues that those issues are in place. You're triggering them. Not to say, okay, well, women give us love and give us life. But now you're saying, oh, hold on. Let's take that back. Because there are people, hey, you who cannot, remember you exist and we acknowledge you, and you need to acknowledge yourself and the fact that it's like, come on now. Are you really doing what it is that you're saying you want to do in terms of considering those people and making them feel better? Or are you actually doing the opposite? And furthermore, changing the narrative as it pertains to how we're supposed to view appreciating women who give birth to life. And then I look at the comment section and I realize most people are saying some variation of what it is I'm saying, except for maybe 1 or 2% who are really genuinely intent on acknowledging others who cannot, for which is a fine thing. But the agenda in place is not to give them, incorporate them with respect. It's to acknowledge some other agenda, to work into the equation some type of mind control, in my opinion, in regards to how we're supposed to view certain things and how we're supposed to apply positivity to certain places and what we're supposed to be considerate of and how best to do that. I don't want to be taught how to be a good person by people like this. I really don't. When I know that my mother gave birth to me, and my mother was a woman, I can't acknowledge her because I got to think about a trans man, woman. No disrespect to those people, but that has nothing to do with me acknowledging the love that I have for the mother that gave birth to me. So why should I be considering that person? Because they cannot? So they don't contribute to what it is I'm celebrating, and I'm supposed to be acknowledging them. And that's right. You see what I'm saying? It's like, I maybe I'm wrong. I'm fine with being wrong, but you're gonna have to help me understand that. And I think it's okay to ask for help in understanding that without asking people to apologize for giving celebration to someone like my mother, for giving birth to someone like myself. Least of all to celebrate or to incorporate someone who cannot. And saying that me celebrating the people who can is not fair to them. I'm not rolling with that just because society says that makes sense. No, because I know that that's all about a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with compassion. We're not trying to be compassionate to those people who cannot give birth. We're not trying to incorporate them as women. The people who are doing this don't actually see them in that light. If anything, they really are discarding of all of us, and they're showing us by way of the way that they're doing this how much they want us to think of one another, which is why these examples are in place to make us look at each other a certain way. No different than the race baiting situation, no different than any other situation that pin people against one another. Having us display our various levels of compassion or lack thereof, when it really just comes down to conversations not being had because we allow these type of people to keep us from having these type of conversations. They'll tell us what's normal, what's not, and then they'll tell us what we should not be talking about. And that, my friends, is what we're going to do away with. I'll admit I got to get better at a lot of things. Maybe I'll display my own. In this video right here, I don't know if I got it all right, but I can tell you this. I don't think the Raptors should have to apologize for giving praise. That doesn't make any sense to me. Now, if they were saying we celebrate these type and therefore we don't want to celebrate others because they can't, if they were displaying their ignorance in that way, then we'd be like, all right, they malicious. They're trying to harm people. But to have to make them apologize for acknowledging something that we all understand to be genuinely true, unless you educate yourself as to the new things that have come up over the last 10 years for which we are just now getting started on. Different things that are like have to be normal, like you must acknowledge men as women if they happen to be women, like that kind of thing. It's like, that's new to us. We don't understand that fully. So to assume that everybody's going to get it and to demand that everybody get it is ridiculous. You got to allow people to let things understand. You got to let things get into people's heads. You got to allow them to receive it before you start condemning them for not understanding it. And so I guess that's their way of doing it. You're going to scold you into understanding this. We demand that you get this right. I'm like, nah. Or what? Or what? What if I don't get it right? The compassion for me to do anything other than say, or what, is now in place, because honestly, it ain't going to be no love like, well, how can I understand you? No, now you've created the angst for which if I don't do, then I got to defend myself. And you see how they create that? That's created. That's what they want. To divide us instead of having us figure out how we can sit down and be more compassionate to one another, to understand why it's important to incorporate you into what it is we're talking about, why it's important for you to understand that I'm not discrediting you when I'm doing this. See, these are conversations. I don't have to apologize to you. You need to sit down and understand me. But you ain't gonna never be able to do that if I'm looking at you as you're condemning me for something that I do not know, for which I wasn't taught to understand, for which I'm now being condemned for not understanding. So it's just basically being embedded in my head. Not by way of compassion and understanding, organic truth. Nah, just you better get it right or else. And I'm telling you, that does not inspire anything other than resentment. And like I said, there are a lot of people who know that, who are in place applying this stuff, waiting for us to scurry about in that way. And I ain't buying. That's why this channel is in place in the way that it does. If I say I love my mother, I don't ever want to discredit a woman or a transgender woman or anybody like that, because it's not my intention. And I don't know anybody to discredit that way. Who do I know like that in my life? You know what I mean? Really. And so for me to want to discredit somebody, I got to have some reason or something in my head. There has to be something to that, man. There's nothing there. I promise it's not. The only thing that's there is the frustration and resentment that I have a middleman telling me what people feel in these various groups. That's what bothers me. That I don't know a single person from that group, but yet I have some notion or understanding of what they want from me or what they don't. Doesn't that seem like a little weird to you? Doesn't that seem strange? But I have these notions because I've been told these things by way of what? Examples, and various people gather around in whatever way or fashion they do to make things true. This is what it is, and this is what it's not, and this is what you're angry about. See? And look over here, they're angry too. Are they? Are they? You know, a lot of times when I see stuff like that, people are saying in the comment section, even myself when I refer to the comment section, you don't actually know who's there. It could be a bot, it could be a troll, could be some anything. It could be literally anything. But we assume it's a human being on the other side with a certain opinion. And if we see enough of those, you just automatically assume everybody's like that, right? See a bunch of black guys who say a bunch of things in the comment section. You don't know if those are actually black people. You don't know if those are actually the real accounts. And I think a good portion of the time when we see certain things that are supposed to be so very offensive in the comment section, I think it's a good portion of the time that's exactly what you're looking at. Good portion. When we start applying that formula, start looking at things that way, then we start understanding they're trying to mold our thinking by way of common folks' opinion, who are actually may not even be common folks at all. Looking around saying, damn, they really don't love black people. Then you start looking at these accounts like, man, they've only been posting twice. It's only one post. It's not a real account. See, being an AMC ape taught me that, because we deal with that all the time in our walk of what we're doing. We're used to people using fake accounts to try to sway our opinion and try to get us to do things financially. It's just part of the game. But when you're dealing with entertainment, it's not understood like that. But it's the same damn thing going on. The exact same thing. Ain't no different. Politics, especially politics, probably even more so. Don't trust it. Compassion is probably going to be the best thing to attach to your name in the end. I promise you. And you may not get it right. Like I said, the culture is changing every day. I can't call you a mister no more. It might be disrespectful. I was raised to, but my compassion is going to allow me to come to you and say, I'm sorry, or I got to get it right, or tell you, I don't feel comfortable telling you I'm sorry because I really didn't mean to be malicious. But if we can sit down and have a conversation, I promise you'll walk away feeling better about who I am and what I mean toward you. I promise you that. I'm going to work on that as we have this conversation and we can really get along. You're going to break bread with me in ways you never would have if you would have just bought whatever spew was coming out of my mouth that wasn't true. That's the thing, man. We need to start having conversations that we've been told not to have. You know what made me feel uncomfortable? Watching seeing the picture of those two actors, those black actors. One of them got his arm around him. I know those are heterosexual males. It made me uncomfortable. I'll tell you right now, that made me uncomfortable. It's the new black guy versus Michael B. Jordan. Not really versus, but like, he got his arm around homie like they're embracing as if they're in a relationship or something. I'm like, if those were really gay men, I would feel totally fine with that. But I don't think this picture is up there for any other reason than to make me feel uncomfortable. I truly believe that. I honestly, deeply, deeply believe that. I think they put those men in that position to make straight black men feel absolutely uncomfortable. Because that's all they really did in regards to myself. I didn't feel embrace or love or nothing like that. That was uncomfortable, man. That's not how brothers embrace if we cool like brothers. No, he don't have to put his arm around me like that. That's not how none of my homies put their arm around me. I love my friends enough to go to war for them. And they respect me enough to never put their hand on me like that. So why do we got to embrace like that to make other people feel comfortable about who we are as black people? Because we're in an era where people are supposed to be embracing identity and that's a factor that's important? No, those are straight men. They ain't got touch like that. Stop making me feel uncomfortable in the name of trying to incorporate other people into feeling comfortable. You're not doing that. That's not your intention, and you're not going to sell that to me. And you're not going to make me feel strange for not embracing that. Because I don't have a problem with gay men. I just know they're not. You see what I'm saying? I know they're not. So that's a problem for me. I don't like the image. I don't like what it's meant to do. It's not meant to make people feel comfortable. It's meant to do the opposite, and I know it. And I want others to know that I know that. They are not trying to inspire nothing there, man. They're not. They're trying to get us talking. They're trying to get us stirred up. No different than anything else that I've mentioned in this video. No different than anything else I've mentioned in this vein on this channel. It's the same thing, man. They want us to think stuff. They want us to move around. They want to mess with people's value. They want to fluctuate numbers. And they want us to be afraid. All of this. Well, they do God knows what in the shadows, man. Pay attention to the banks. Pay attention to these banks. And everybody follow me. This is on par with everything we always talk about. But that's really what's happening. Pay attention to the banks, man. Whack-a-mole. If you're following me, this is not new. I ain't going to get into that spiel. I just want to say it again. Whack-a-mole. It's playing out exactly the way I said it would. So while they're continuing to play with our image and play with our value and play with all this different stuff and try to make us think that it's not okay to feel uncomfortable or that we're lacking compassion and incorporating others into our world because we don't embrace certain images that don't sit well with our spirits, or that we're not supportive of women or to whatever degree, because when we're in relationships with them, we may not want them to show off the same amount they would be if they weren't in a relationship with us. I got to condition my mind to be okay with my woman walking around naked, knowing how I feel as a single man when a woman walk around naked. I'm sorry, friends. You don't want to be in my head when I see that. So it's like, why in the heck would I want my woman to walk around like that when I know how a single man may or may not think? We ever heard of rape culture? That's not cool. You don't play like that. You don't play like that. There are sick people in the world, man. You don't. That's what I'm trying to express. It's like we're running rampant with certain things where we don't understand that unprecedented things are possible. As I always say, we just got to fathom the unprecedented so we can prepare for what has never been seen, so that the worst never takes place and we can at least be prepared for certain things. I don't want to hear about anything unprecedented in regards to women that we love and see on our screens and things of that nature because of the sickness of some of these crazy minds out here and the rampant nature of sexuality that we see. You know what I mean? I just don't think it's a safe world for how we're acting and how we're behaving. And I think we're allowing people who are not responsible in regards to how they handle people. They don't care what happens to the common folk. They're looking at us from a macro level and taking notes as certain things happen. Your life could be on the edge when it comes to stuff like that. They're just writing down and jotting down notes, see what happens to you. I'm telling you. That's why we need to be very careful with our images and what we talk about. This is why I speak the way I do, because I know that's what they're doing. They do not care about this generation at all. This is an experiment. The whole thing. They're trying to figure out what's going to happen with this internet. They're trying to figure out how best to go forward with it. And right now, they know this thing is not being regulated. They know people are going crazy on this thing. And minds are turning into mush. Because they just going towards whatever they want. And the frequency is getting lower and lower. And the greed is getting stronger and stronger. And the faith seems to be getting further and further away. And so that's what my purpose is, to bring it back to a forefront, make faith absolutely comfortable, not excluding anybody. You don't have to, you know what I mean? It's not a church. I'm just telling you I believe in God, and he puts in my heart certain things. And when I start speaking like this, I speak matter of fact. I just do. I don't have to necessarily know what's going on behind the scenes, but I'm going to speak just the same, because at the end of the day, some of this stuff has been the same old patterns. Since I was a little kid, man, I've been seeing these patterns. Since Anna Nicole Smith, I've been seeing some of these damn patterns, yo. I'm old. So a lot of stuff ain't new to me, man. When I see them messing around with people's images, and I've been thinking a lot, and I've mentioned her name many times, Glorilla. I mention her all the time. She's blowing up. I don't know how to embrace her name properly. And mind you, this is coming from an AMC ape. It was hard for me to embrace that. When I say I'm an AMC ape, don't think that was something I embraced right away. I didn't. I don't like the connotation between black people and being monkeys at all. But I had a hard time with that, because I'm like, all right, her name is Gloria. And when you're a gorilla, especially in the South, a lot of it's a jungle. You know what I mean? They're thinking of it. They're not thinking of it as monkeys. They're thinking of it as warriors and soldiers, right? I remember the No Limit days. They're gorillas, untrained gorillas, all that. So I'm like, I'm trying to embrace her name, but I'm like, the people who put her up there, man, they're not. Gorilla? I don't know, man. I just have a hard time with what I'm seeing, bro. Having a hard time with it. And I'm not supposed to say races, don't race bait. Don't be so all in your feelings about your race, because nobody cares about that. All right, friends that tell me that nobody cares about that, but are you seeing the parallels that we keep pointing out to you? I get what you're saying, because it's supposed to be annoying to you. That's also part of the formula. But you understand what I'm saying to you, right? BDF 44. I thank you all for watching.